In today's recording, we are going to finish the Paramecium homeostasis. So yesterday we finished after question 5b, so we're going to start with question 6, the experiment. So if you go over to your gizmo, and the directions say click reset, and reset is at the bottom of the Paramecium square. And again, our controls need to be on user controlled here, and we need to be, our water solute concentration needs to be on 1. Alright, so the directions say click reset and try to maintain a steady volume for the Paramecium. Pause the simulation after about 1 minute and select the table tab. You may have to try this a couple times before you get the table tab, and I'll show you where that is as soon as I get through with this part, because this is kind of hard to do. So you're going to hit control, and if you see the purple contractile vacuole, it gets larger when it gets too much water in it, and so every time it gets large you need to contract so that it will expel the excess water. And you need to do this for about a minute. Again, you need to make sure your controls are on user control on the upper right hand side, and there on the lower right hand side there are some hints and feedback, and so I might have some of that in a minute. So we're going to keep doing this till we get to a minute. Alright, so hint and feedback. My Paramecium died of dehydration. That means it didn't have enough water. So that means I contracted way too many times. So if your Paramecium dies of dehydration, like mine did, or if it explodes, then you need to try again. You want to try to keep it steady. Then you're going to go up here to the second tab where it says table, and you're going, it's recorded some data for. So at 10 seconds, the Paramecium had 4 contractions. At 20 seconds, it had 4 more. So you add up all these total right here, and that will go in the question or the answer box for number 6. If you want to look at the graph, the third tab is a graph. It's pretty interesting. We're used to graphs being in a straight line, either diagonal or straight across. But this one shows how things change sometimes when you're collecting data. So after you get that done and you come up with an answer, then number 7 says, summarize. How does the contractile vacuole help the Paramecium survive in freshwater environment? So remember, the Paramecium is living in fresh water. Our water solute concentration is salty water. And so what does the Paramecium have to do in order to maintain homeostasis in this saltwater solution? Now, when we go to the next page, this is activity B, and this is where you're going to be graded for your IB assessment. So I am going to stop here. I'm going to go back to Canvas, where you opened up the Paramecium homeostasis assignment, and there's a rubric below it. When you click on rubric, it will show you this right here. This assessment is worth 20 points. There are 5 criterion that we are grading for, with a maximum of 4 points for each criterion. So the first one is criterion C1, data collection. And if you look, I've got activity B, question 2. So the next section that we're going to do, question 2, answer, will earn you either 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point. The second set of criterion is criterion C2, interpretation of data and results. If you will look, this is activity B, questions 3, 5, and 6. So I will look at your answers for 3, 5, and 6 and see if you should have 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, or 1 point. Remember, on your IB assessments, the more that you write in complete sentences and you make your thoughts very clear, the higher your IB grade will be. Criterion C3, the validity of your hypothesis. This is from activity B, question 1. You're going to, which we'll go over in a minute, and then you're going to compare what you have for question 1, and you're going to answer that in question 4. Again, I'll get more directions on that when I take you to the worksheet. Again, you can earn 4, 3, 2, 1, or 0 points. Criterion C4 is the validity of the method of the experiment. I will go over that when I return to the worksheet. And criterion C5 is improvements or extensions to the experiment. How would you improve or how would you make this experiment different? All right, so that's the rubric. Back to the worksheet. We are now on activity B, where you will get graded for this. So the first thing says, get the gizmo ready. Click reset and select Paramecium controlled setting on the description. So I'm going to go over to my gizmo. I am going to reset. I'm going to go back to description. I'm going to make it Paramecium controlled. And let me see, I think the water solute station, oh, we're going to be changing that. So I'm going to go ahead and change it now, and you'll see what it is in a minute. We'll start out at 2.0. All right, so back to my document. Form a hypothesis. Make a prediction. How do you think the number of contractile vacuole contractions will change when the water solute concentration is reduced? Explain why you think so. So, a sentence starter would be, the number of contractile vacuole contractions will either increase, decrease, or stay the same when the water solute concentration is reduced because, and you tell me why. Remember, this is either going to be a rather long sentence or you can make it 2 sentences, but this, for our IB requirements, we like to write a lot of details. All right, number 2. Gather the data. Set the water solute concentration to 2.00%. Click play. Pause after 30 minutes. On the table tab, add the number of contractions and record the results in the table below. Click reset and repeat this procedure for all of the listed concentrations. So let me go back to the gizmo. I'm on Paramecium controlled. My water solute concentration is 2.00. I'm going to go ahead and play it for a minute, and so I can show you what data you will need to collect. So it doesn't look like much is happening, but if you look at the number above the image of the paramecium, you see the solute concentration is moving slightly. All right, I'm going to pause it. After 1 minute, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to click on table, and I've got my data over here where it takes a number of contractions every 10 seconds. You add all these numbers up, and you put it right here. All right. Then you're going to go back to the paramecium. You're going to change the water solute concentration to 1.50%. You're going to contract for 30 seconds. And, I said a minute, but you're only contracting for 30 seconds. You're going to see how many contractions you get and put the numbers here. Once you get this filled in, you should see some kind of pattern. All right, there will be a pattern established. So if you don't see a pattern, then you need to go back and redo it. Question number 3, what pattern do you see in your data? So you're going to look on the right side of the table. You're going to tell me, you're going to describe the pattern you see, and how does this compare to your hypothesis? So you're going to go back up to your hypothesis. Remember, you had change. The change could be increased, decreased, or stay the same. And tell me if what you see in the data is the same as your hypothesis. If it's not the same, that's okay. You just need to explain it. Question number 4, the validity of the hypothesis. Look back at your hypothesis in question 1. Is your hypothesis valid, correct, or not valid, which means it was wrong? Write a statement explaining the validity of your hypothesis. It is okay for your hypothesis to be not valid, to be wrong. However, that would be a reflection piece right there. So you would say, my hypothesis is valid or not valid, and tell me why. All right, give me good information, good details on that. Number 5, you're going to make a prediction. How many contractions would you expect in 30 seconds if the water solute concentration was 0.75%? Test your prediction with Gizmo. Well, first you're going to make a prediction. So what I would do is, it says 0.75. I go back up to my table and I see that 0.75 would fall between 0.5 and 1 whole. And I would look at the numbers I have over here and I would predict something in between those. That would be your prediction. Then you're going to go back to the Gizmo. You're going to put the water solute concentration on 0.75%, test it, run it for 30 seconds, and then put the number of actual contractions down. Number 6, think and discuss. Paramecium that live in fresh water have contractile vacuoles, while those that live in salt water do not. Why do you think this is the case? You're going to go back up here and look at your data, and you're going to try to infer the answer from that. Question number 7, the validity of the method of the experiment. This is important IB criteria that we're doing right now. Do you think this is a well-designed experiment? And write a statement explaining your answer. So you might put, this is a well-designed experiment because, or this is not a well-designed experiment because. Improvements. If you were to do this experiment again, what changes would you make to the variable? All right, so the variable that we are changing on this experiment, if we go back up to the table, we are changing the water solute concentration. That is the variable that's changing. When you do a science experiment, you only change one variable at a time. So the only thing we're changing is the water solute concentration. If this were math class and you had an X and Y table, this would look like this. The water solute would be the X. The Y would be your output. So input, output. So back to question number 8, improvements. If you were to do this again, what changes would you make to the variable? So think about time, temperature, amount of light. There could be other variables that you could try, and tell me why you would change it. Okay, again, this is a graded assignment. It's worth 20 points. It is an IB assessment. If you have any questions while you're doing this, email me and let me know, and make sure you get it done and submit it in Canvas.